It's the 2009 kickoff of This Week in NASCAR. We have 2 drivers and a crew chief. We're going to talk about the Budweiser Shootout, Daytona 500 qualifying, and look ahead to big races next Thursday, and of course, the Daytona 500.
This race tonight really is all or nothing.
Oh, we got trouble. David Reagan in the 6.
Uh-oh, Jeff Gordon's in trouble now. Yikes, he made contact with the 16.
He got Biffle in the 16.
This is when you pull your gloves all the way up over your elbows, boys.
He's got a 4 wide going through turn 2.
29 McMurray, Harvick has help on the outside.
Uh-oh, here comes the 29. Just like, no.
Johnson into the wall with Mears and Hamlin.
So Harvick has won this race.
By 4/1000ths of a second, Mike Skinner. Unbelievable finish. Ryan Newman, Roger Penske win the Daytona 500.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Roger Penske's first restrictor plate win and his first 1-2 finish.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico. Glad to have them on board for this 2009 debut and the season. Racetrack is quiet for Monday and Tuesday, but it is in high gear. Speed Weeks 2009 is wide open. The only cars on the racetrack today, the Richard Petty driving experience. Joining me in the studio, Jamie McMurray has been kind enough to spend the off day with us, and as usual, Michael Waltrip is here, and Booty Barker. Much more from those guys in just a second. First headline of the day, the Budweiser Shootout. Every driver said it was wild. See Jamie McMurray there at the lead, but trouble behind him. Kevin Harvick goes into the lead. That was a green-white checker finish. Kevin Harvick takes the checkered flag, $200,000. 28 drivers in the biggest shootout field in history. And Jamie McMurray, when you got out of the race car Saturday night, we were almost laughing. It was insane, some of the racing we saw out there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I was fortunate that I got to be in the front of most of that, and all the wrecks were behind me. So it didn't seem quite so wild to me, but it was a lot of fun. And the car of tomorrow does not drive as good as what the cars that we used to have here, and it makes it a little bit more exciting, I think, for the fans to be able to watch this.
Before Michael weighs in, and Booty, tell us about the strategy, your thought process on the last lap.
Was to stay in front of everybody.
Block all he could.
Seemed like a good plan.
Yeah.
You know, I struggled a little bit with, my car was really quick through the middle of the corner, and it seemed like the guy that was in the front could get away in the middle of the corner, and that would let those guys get a huge run on you at the end of the straightaway. So Lauren kept saying, my spotter was like, don't get too far ahead in the middle because they're going to get a big run on you. So, you know, I'm trying to drag the brake through the middle of the corner and not get too far ahead. And I blocked Jeff and Jimmy, I think, the 2 laps before that. But when Kevin was coming, I just, just couldn't block him. Couldn't get in front of him.
Well, Michael, great to have you back, and Booty as well. You're crew chief for 2009. Let's talk about that shootout. I mean, I was on pit road. I'd see cars coming by 3 wide. I'd look up on the screen. Cars would be 4 wide on the backstretch. And when I say it was insane, I mean that in an exciting way.
Well, I can let Jamie know that it was wild back there, because I spent all my time in the middle of the mess. And on like lap 4, I saw the UPS cars. I mean, he went right in my lap.
Were you thankful that you didn't own the UPS car at that point?
I thought, did I own that car? So then I'm going on the back straightaway, and the Aaron's car went right across my lap. And I said, well, I know I own that one. And I called Booty. I said, is there any more cars out here I own or have anything to do with? Because they're all trying to get me. But eventually we were able to make our way up to the top 5. Got in another little skirmish there with Biffle and Jeff Gordon, and got some damage, and then had to come to pit road. And coming back up through there, I got in a little bit of a bind and wound up in the outside wall. So I tried to get in a hole that I thought was there. And when I got in it first, it was there. But then I couldn't quite close the deal. Here it is. Watch. Yeah, I didn't realize all that happened.
Michael said, he says, you know, I've got a little damage there, Booty. I don't think we're going to be able to fix it. I see why. Yeah, he made a good
I wanted to get behind Jamie. I knew where he was going. And look, I thought I was in that hole.
Yeah.
Ooh,
You know what?
maybe you were.
I thought I was in the. I mean, there was not much room to the right, but I guess it just it was that close. It was really tight in the pack. And you know, on Saturday night in the shootout, you try to get in places that maybe you shouldn't at times, and you also think that maybe somebody will know you're serious about that spot and give it to you. But in that case, it didn't work out for the Napa car.
Booty, you guys went to the front. All in all, were you pleased with your debut race together?
Absolutely, very pleased. I'm looking forward to working with Michael more and more to see what he knows and what he wants and what he doesn't want. You know, that'll take time. The crew, exceptional how well they worked. I worked them hard and they did very good. Something I noticed about the cars, and Michael alluded to it, we probably need some more speed, but yet and still you see how much those cars are moving around. And the bumps seem as bad as ever, which I'm not complaining. I like a difficult racetrack. So it's the same old grind. You need to handle, but the car's got to go eventually. So we're going to continue to work on that.
You know what I love? For a long time, we'd come to Daytona and there wasn't such a thing as a last lap pass. Everybody's thinking about the 70s and how great the racing was. Well, it wasn't, but it was different back then. There was two cars, and they could pass each other. Now, every race we have at Daytona, there's a last lap pass, and it's crazy action. So, darn it, I love where we're at. I think the fans love it, and how excited were you when it was time to roll out on Friday? One of my buddies said, "Man, y'all just pulled off pit road and started racing like it was the last lap." I said, "That's how we roll around
Well, we didn't
here."
have any testing, and I think everybody was excited just to actually get back in a car and actually get to race.
Well, also back this year, Chad Knaus and Greg Biffle. Jamie, here's what Chad Knaus does sometimes. You can't see it on TV. When Michael says something, Chad will go.
And not agree.
Exactly.
And then when they take the camera off me, I go like this. I go.
Or he'll look at Michael and me and goes. Anyways, Greg and Chad are back with us. Not here today, obviously, but here are their thoughts about the Budweiser Shootout.
So the Bud Shootout obviously didn't turn out the way that we wanted it to this weekend, but the Lowe's Chevrolet did run very, very well. Unfortunately, we got caught up in an incident midway through the race. We're able to fix it, repair it on pit road, get back out there, and actually led a little bit. Thoughts were actually very optimistic coming into the last lap. We think we were leading or pretty close to it coming across the start-finish line. Then, unfortunately, coming into turn 3, got hit from behind, spun out a little bit, and tore up the Lowe's Chevrolet. But the good thing about it is we've got a great race set up. We're really excited about the 150s.
Now, my Bud Shootout race, I got a little bit dizzy. It was like a merry-go-round for me, but, you know, it was 4 wide, 3 wide, all kinds of stuff. Got, you know, guys pushing up off the corner, got in the left rear corner, turned me around a little bit. Jeff Gordon and I got a little bit, squeezed a little bit tight down there in 3 and 4, or 1 and 2 when we got in there. He got 4 wide and then back to 3 wide. I maybe, after watching the replay, could have left a little bit more room down there, but it was hairy. And I'll tell you what, it's a preview for the Daytona 500, I think.
The Biff was active. Speed is dueling in Daytona. The most exciting qualifying event in NASCAR happens Thursday, and it's only on speed. Many drivers having to race their way into the Daytona 500. Don't want to miss the Gatorade Duel at Daytona, Thursday, 2 Eastern, only on speed. When we come back on This Week in NASCAR, look at all the highlights from the Bud Shootout, including the big wreck on lap 4. Later, a history of the duels, which includes some nasty wrecks and some great finishes. As always, a wild couple of races, plus a review of Ryan Newman's dramatic Daytona 500 win last year. This Week in NASCAR will be right back.
This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Old Spice Swagger, the scent that makes a difference. By Toyota. For the latest Toyota racing information, visit toyotaracing.com. Toyota, moving forward. And by Z-Max, performance you can feel.
Glad you're back with us in Daytona Beach, Florida. No activities on the track today or tomorrow, so let's take a look back at the highlights of the Budweiser Shootout, the 31st running on Saturday night. Highlight 1, lap 4. Jamie, things happened early, and you just squeezed by the 6 car.
I tell you, sometimes when you come off the corner at any racetrack and you almost hit the wall, the exhaust gets quiet because it gets so close to the wall. And when David's car spun, my exhaust got quiet. I was like, oh my God, that was close. And that's a bad place to get hit, in the right rear, you know, off the turn 4.
My spotter said, "Right behind you." I said, "Behind me?" Thought it was ahead of me.
That's a good job. That's a big hit.
Cars involved there, Jamie, Joey Logano, Greg Biffle, Robbie Gordon, Casey Mears, Scott Speed, and as we said, David Reagan. Jeff Gordon, though, able to sneak through.
There'll be a common theme here. You said Greg Biffle was involved in that
That's what I
crash.
said. He was active.
Okay, he was involved in that crash. Let's make a note.
Christy,
That's one.
Christy normally doesn't make comments about the race, but she told me, she said, Greg tried to wreck all night long. She said he just kept spinning out. And I was like, man, for Christy to say that, that's...
Christy being your fiance.
Yes, correct. And I went back and I watched the race. I was like, Christy, you're 100% correct. It just kept trying.
It seemed like I saw him like refiring from the grass right there. Like, oh, there he is. Let's take a look at our next highlight, lap 21. Denny Hamlin gets loose big time coming off turn 4. Whoa!
Yeah, it could have been huge right there. Everybody gave him a little room, you see. He wouldn't do that. We didn't have any choice.
4 wide, look at that.
Look at Mike.
There's Mike on the bottom, Jeff Gordon. There's the Biff. Oh.
That's what happened out there.
I tell you what, Jeff Gordon I was leading, and Jeff Gordon was on my inside when we came by the start-finish line that lap, and I saw them make him 3 wide, and I was looking at my mirror when that happened. I'm like, that's incredible that he went from leading to getting crashed.
That didn't do us to the favors right there, did it, Mike? Nice back position.
We can see also, watch hard. The winner of the race here eventually. Yep. Look what he does. Oh, that's close.
Unreal, yeah.
Plus, Allmendinger snuck by on the bottom. He wound up finishing 5th. My question for both of you.
Let's go ahead and put a footnote. Biffle backwards.
Biffle, twice.
Yeah. 2 so far we've seen.
I can't remember who said it yesterday. One of the drivers said there were guys making moves that they would not make in the 500. True or false?
They would at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it was any different than what you're going to see after we get our last set of tires in the 500.
We have a backup car. We have a Daytona primary. These are worth no points. It's all money. So what do you expect?
That happens from the start in this race. But in the 500, everybody said, what's the race going to be like? I said, it'll be pretty cool until there's a caution with 20 to go, and everybody just decides it's time to go.
Well, and I don't think guys realized when the race started, when we ran the first 25 laps, how bad the cars were going to drive at the end of those 25 laps.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of got single file at the end. So, and some of those guys that started in the front, with the way the draw was, their cars didn't drive very good. And when they were just trying to maintain and someone would shoot them 3 wide going into the corners, it was sucking those cars around. So I know that Bobby Labonte was very thankful that we had a break, because I know that his car was extremely loose.
I like what Booty says. What do you expect?
Yeah.
That's how you break it down right there.
Yeah, what do you expect?
What do you expect? Well, coming up, more highlights and discussion of the Budweiser Shootout, including that last lap pass for the lead by Kevin Harvick. Plus, we'll recap qualifying and set the front row for the Daytona 500. Daytona, one of the few places where drivers can race in a pack all day long. We'll get the panel's thoughts about that. You're watching This Week in NASCAR. This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico. See and hear the Richard Petty driving experience cars on the racetrack, but the teams have today and tomorrow off before getting back to work on Wednesday. Glad you're back with us, and good to be back in the saddle for This Week in NASCAR. Michael and I, we had a lot of fun last year, didn't we?
Oh, it's a great time. You know, you start your week, or I do on Monday morning, by coming down to Charlotte and reviewing the weekend race. And it seems like it just gets the week started, and it's a lot of fun for us to do. Can we get that caveman to be our guest one day, now that Geico's our sponsor?
How about the Gecko?
I like him. I love that music.
Yeah.
I like this sponsor. It's a great sponsor, Geico.
Let's, by the way, I want to say for the record, Jamie Murray not happy about the final highlight, but he's decided to move on with the show. Our next highlight takes place on lap 54, another big wreck involving, this time, David Stremme.
And Greg Biffle.
Got to be Biffle. Right.
Elliott Sadler and Rudy Rudiger, David Rudiman.
Oh.
Biffle's coming up, but he wasn't in this one. This was lap 54.
What happened with this?
What happened, it looked like Elliott kind of got hooked on the side of the car inside of him, turned a little sideways, and then got hit from behind. Look at the guys trying to get off pit road. There's no speeding in the grass, I don't guess.
Ooh.
That was one of those guys in the grass.
That's good action right there.
On the radio, I was in Tony Stewart's pits. He started laughing, and he said, that was awesome.
What's nice is all the action was taking place out in the grass, you know, away from the guys on pit road. So you kind of veer that way. That's a good thing. If there's a wall there, that gets the action closer to the guys, so that's not good.
Let's move ahead now to lap 64, which does include our friend, Mr. Biffle.
Now,
Paul
look here,
Menard.
you know, we're talking about cars not driving well. Now, the 98, I don't think he got hit. I don't think anything happened.
Nope,
You
just got
notice-
loose.
But when he came off that corner right there, you notice his rear end bounced, and it just went in the table. Here we go. Aggressive setups, I guess, to get speed, I imagine, guys.
I
Or is
think
it
you're
just
right,
the
Booty. He
crew
just
chiefs
got
gotten
loose.
dumber? Which one is it? Has the track gotten rougher? Have y'all tolerate more, or have we just gotten dumber?
I think y'all have gotten better with making the cars faster.
Yeah.
And you know, the cars bounce a little bit, but it's faster, and so the driver says, I want that, and then it's fine until the tires get 10 or 12 laps on it, and then you got to make some decisions. You know, you might not want to get in the middle of two cars because you're not really sure which way it's going to bounce.
I'm curious that the car of tomorrow has more downforce than what our old Speedway cars did, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but we weren't limited on travel, so we could get the thing down with the springs and it rode nice. Now we got this big piece of wood or whatever it is in the front that we have to keep off the road.
Yeah.
So therefore we got to put the bump stops in there and control it. And it's crazy the way it feels.
And your CG, you know, everything
Yeah,
is
it's
so
real
much
high.
higher.
And yeah, you're right. Yeah.
That's why I like I got a big rear end, but it's low.
Good, right. He's kind of like a pendulum. He uses it on the bottom and you swing left.
You have a big head too, though. And it's up high.
Not like some of those guys we race with. Think of a couple in particular.
Time now for the Castrol Edge smart move of the race. Jamie Murray may be boycotting this.
Yeah. Not a part of this.
He's not a happy man. Look at Harvick right through the middle.
Watch, this is when he gets a break, though. Denny Hamlin lined up right on his, he was sideways, but he was able to stay in the gas and wound up right on Harvick's bumper, or Harvick doesn't make this move. Denny pushes him past Jamie.
I was really hoping, I saw Jimmy, and I thought, man, if Jimmy can get a hold of me, maybe he'll be able to do the same for me. And then I looked up, and I'm like, no, I don't think Jimmy's going to be able to help me.
That was just an example of good fortune. The car he passed was sideways, but he's able to hang on, and when he got straight, Harvick, he was right on his bumper.
It's a matter of being lucky than good. And which Harvick's good, of course, to do it, put himself in position, but as Michael said, it felt right for him.
Yeah, I think Kevin would be willing to admit, or anybody in the race, that it comes down to getting in that right position, and sometimes you don't make yourself in that position.
Mark Martin said that about the 2007 Daytona 500. Same thing happened behind him. Kyle Busch spins out. He said, I lost my pusher. There wasn't nothing I could do about it.
I saw Mark right before he was going out to do his picture for qualifying second yesterday, and we were talking about the shootout, and he is still mad about the Daytona 500. He told me, he said, Kevin Harvick got lucky when he beat me also. Don't worry about it. He was all fired up.
Well, Harvick did a perfect job of positioning himself to, you know, he made an aggressive move, but then after that, it just worked out.
Yeah.
You can't ever take anything away from somebody that wins one of these races because it's so difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you say, let it go, Mark?
Yeah.
Breathe.
Breathe. When we come back, Dale Earnhardt won 10 straight qualifying races in the 90s. A complete history of the duels coming up. And before we're done, a discussion about bump drafting. Every driver does it, but is it the right thing to do? This Week in NASCAR will be right back.
The smart move of the race has been presented by Castrol Edge. Think with your dipstick. Upgrade to new Castrol Edge Advanced Synthetic. Nothing offers better wear protection.
Yesterday here at Daytona, qualifying for the Daytona 500, and qualifying is a different animal here. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Just the front row set yesterday. Let's take a look at Michael's run in qualifying, and Michael, you can help us out and talk about, really, I want to know what drivers can do when they make their qualifying run, because I hear all you guys say, oh, there's not much a driver can do. But
last year, the NASCAR car was a lot faster, and it was difficult to drive. I mean, I could not hold it on the bottom. It was bouncing, but it was fast, so I didn't say a word about it. This year, we weren't so fast, and it still wasn't driving any good. So I said, well, maybe we better try to make it drive better in order to see if we get more speed out of it. Booty was able to get it driving good, but it just was slow, which was disappointing because we felt like we have, here's what I don't understand, Steve. We got more power than we had a year ago. We got less drag in our car than we had a year ago. no rules changed, and we ran slower than we did a year ago. Now, how's all that
Doesn't
work?
make any sense, does it?
No, it doesn't.
I'm not too happy about it either.
I was going to say, Booty, your buddy on NASCAR Performance, Larry Mack, likes to say you got what you got when you get to Daytona.
That's true. The only thing is each car has its nuances, you know, and when we test down here, typically you can work out those characteristics, those little things that it needs. And I think this car is going to need a little massaging, but it blew very well. It's a very efficient car. I think it's going to be just fine. But I was disappointed with the speed we ran, but we improved, but we needed to be better.
Jamie, let's take a look at your run. By the way, Michael, 34th overall. Jamie, 24th overall. We'll take a look at your qualifying run. And I want to ask about that, but also, as we move ahead to next weekend, I always hear guys say they want to get that car comfortable.
Well, I mean, I was a little bit disappointed. I think everybody's disappointed unless you're on the front row. But we were like 15th in both practices, so I just kind of assumed we'd end up somewhere around 15th. And we ran the exact same time, but some of those other guys were able to pick up. And I would have been a little bit discouraged, but our car handled so well on the Bud Shootout. And, you know, your actual qualifying is going to be based on the race on Thursday. And I'm guessing that the track is going to be even slicker on Thursday than what it was the other night. So I think the good handling cars will really shine come Thursday.
Well, the newspaper here in Daytona said it's Martinsville, and that's because Martin Truex Jr. is on the pole, and Mark Martin, who lives down here, is on the outside. Mark trying to win the Daytona 500 for the first time.
He almost won at 07.
We talked about it.
But he did.
Right, Kevin Harvick got on the outside of him as well.
Martin Truex Jr., his first Daytona 500 pole. There you see Martin Truex and Mark Martin celebrating Martin's second career pole. Now let's take a look at the Gatorade dual lineups. And what's fascinating about this race, or races I should say, are the guys that have to race their way in. Got different agendas.
And you saw that race Saturday night and all the action. There's going to be guys that are wanting to preserve their Daytona 500 car.
Yeah.
They got a good car, they like it. There's going to be some guys that could care less about preservation. They're just there to try to get in the show. It's going to be crazy.
Those are some of the best races all year long, are the guys. I mean, that's the best qualifying format we have, where the guy actually has to race his way in. I think that's awesome.
You just stole my line. That's the lead into the next piece we're going to do.
Sorry.
He has a
Hey, Steve, that's how he rolls.
I'm witty. You know what I mean?
And he's quick, too.
Jamie McMurray is on fire. As Jamie McMurray says, the dual races taking nothing away from the Daytona 500, some of the best racing in Speed Week's history.
We are getting set for the twin 125-mile races.
And we're on the final lap of this 125-mile qualifier. Going to be Darrell Waltrip, Richard Petty second, and Benny Parsons third.
Down the line, throwing a block is Parsons. He tries to hold off Baker. They're coming across. Waltrip does it on the inside. Waltrip went down to the grass, right down to the apron, and made a move to take it all.
Richard Petty is coming back on the outside. It is Younger on the inside, but the winner is Budd. Here they come for the finish. They touch. They come to the line. Ernie Irvan pulls it off.
No, we've got 11 laps to go. Oh, we got trouble.
Johnson spins to the inside. Harvick's to the outside, retaining wall.
We're out there riding along, and he pulls his head off of his shoulders and tries bump draft into the center of the turn. I hope that Childress either fires him, does something about him, NASCAR does something about him, because this is ridiculous.
Oh, we have trouble in turn number 2. Johnny Anderson flipping the third place car. Anderson's car totally destroyed.
One car has somersaulted several times, and the rookie from Indiana, it's Gordon across in first. Jeff Gordon, the youngest winner in 125-mile qualifying history.
I didn't ever expect to do this early. What about Sunday's 500? Are you ready to win that?
Well, I wasn't ready to win this one, but we did, so you never know. Anything can happen.
Oh, and across there.
And a bad crash. Going side over side and end over end several times. At the line, it's Earnhardt. Fourth straight 125-mile victory here. No one's ever done that. It's Earnhardt, 6 straight. 7 straight 125s.
Earnhardt to win it 10 years in a row. He's won the Gatorade 125.
Photo finish camera is in position. Here they come for the finish.
Photo finish by 4-1. 1/10 of a second. Mike Skinner, unbelievable finish.
Oh, car spinning. Out of control. He's still sliding. He's in trouble. He's getting hit and slams into.
Whoa, trouble, Steve. Michael Waltrip tried to come up, and Dale Jr. was there.
With Mark Barton, what happened?
They had a wreck.
Can you win the 500 from the back in the backup car?
Absolutely not. Never happened.
2 feet away from making the 500. Mike Bliss.
I'll be watching at home, and that just sucks. I'm just, want to cry.
And he meant it. That's an amazing compilation of racing here at Daytona in the duels. And you know the one that I remember over the years was when Kenny Schrader won in Junie Donlevy's car in the 90 car, because Junie was such a favorite in the garage. That's just one of the ones that sticks out in my mind.
Well, I think the thing that I remember most is the range of emotion that you'll see. You're going to see guys celebrating for racing their way into the Daytona 500, the greatest race in the whole world, and the emotion, the passion for it is there. You see it, and then just pan over 10 feet, and you see the other end, somebody that just was as close as Bliss was, that he could taste it, but it didn't come to be.
I remember Ward Burton doing like the fist pump on the roof of his car after not winning. I remember thinking, God, I just can't imagine how that guy feels. But the one thing I did get from that, I wish we'd get Jeff to bring that mustache back.
It's nice.
that is a good look for that guy.
All right, after this, racing in a pack creates a mentally exhausting race for the drivers. We'll get their thoughts. Booty, pay attention, a preview of the Camping World Truck Series race. The trucks always create an exciting finish on this track at Daytona. There's Todd Bodine from a year ago. This week in NASCAR is presented by Geico. About 5 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, the world-famous Daytona Beach. Glad you're with us back here in Daytona. And, guys, we looked at the Budweiser Shootout. That's just 75 laps of racing. On Sunday, you'll have 200 laps of racing. And I've always wanted to ask this, how mentally do you prepare yourself for 500 miles here of that kind of side-by-side, nose-to-tail racing?
There's a lot to me that goes into the Daytona 500 because the race doesn't start till like 3 in the afternoon, and there's a lot of sponsor commitments because everyone, not only for me, Crown and Irwin, but everyone, Kraft, A1, all those people want a piece of you on that day. So there's a lot that happens before the race even starts. But the race is so much different because it's single file. It seems like at the beginning because the track's so slick, and then like Michael said, you put your tires on with 25 or 30 laps to go and the sun's gone down, and then it's 3 wide and it's like the shootout.
So what you do as far as the setup, in my opinion, is you get it where he can hang on during the day, and he has to be mentally strong enough to not put himself in a position and let people do what they're going to do and ride around there. So when the nighttime falls and you put those tires on, you got a car fast enough where he can get after.
Michael, I asked you last year about running a marathon, and you had a great answer. You said it's all mental.
It is. And
so is this the same thing for 500 miles?
It's the same thing, but you can't just go run a marathon. You have to prepare mentally to do that, and it's the same thing for the Daytona 500. Your experience tells you what has to happen in order for you to get to victory lane, and so you have a plan that you think about all the way up to when the green flag falls, and that is how I'm going to get to how I'm going to get my car to victory lane. And Jamie's right, and Booty, you have to be mentally tough all the way up to when there's 20 to go. And then you still got to be smart to get in a position like Kevin Harvick put himself in Saturday night, but you also got to turn a page and say, it's on now, I'm going.
Well, last year's Daytona 500 race was a great one and a popular one in the garage area. Roger Penske finally got a win, and it was teammates Kurt Busch pushing Ryan Newman.
It's one of the most famous venues in all of sports, the Daytona International Speedway, and it all starts here every year.
All 43 of these teams, when they walk through that garage area today, they believe that they could win the Daytona 500. This thing is a marathon. You've got to be ready to do that. Physically, mentally, that car's got to be prepared. You've got to be on top of it.
50th anniversary Daytona 500. Ours today, 48 on 3. 1, 2, 3, 48!
Let's go racing, boys!
Now Denny Hamlin going for the lead on the bottom of the racetrack. Takes it away from Kyle Busch over in turn 4.
We have had 7 different leaders in a dozen lead changes already. A car I've been watching in this group, he's in that outside line. Kurt Busch's teammate
Johnson goes around.
One to go.
Come on, baby. Come on, baby.
It's going to come all the way to the wire. Here they go into turn 3. Teammates working together.
God dang it, we're going to win this thing, guys.
It's the Boilermaker, Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman, Roger Penske win the Daytona 500.
Awesome, man, awesome. Woo!
Michael, you've held that trophy up twice. What's it feel like to stand there?
It's awesome, and it's you know, everything that I've ever been about in NASCAR racing has been about the Daytona 500. And I've been coming down here since I was 7 or 8 years old to watch my brother race, and then got my first chance to race here back in the early 80s. And to fast forward to standing there with that trophy, understanding all the water that had gone under the bridge and all the trials that you go through to get to this level, and to be on top on our most important day of the year is unmatchable.
Booty, I think the thing that really captures the 500 was hearing Ryan Newman's dad, Gary, who's a spotter, to hear his emotion is what captures it.
Absolutely, and look at somebody like Dale Earnhardt. We talked about how many years it took him to win it, and how much it meant to him, and how much Whole Children's organization. And then when he did win it, all of us in the garage congratulating him, because we all know the magnitude of what it is. And nothing would be better than us winning that race come Sunday.
Jamie, I know you've been asked probably 1,000 times what would it mean, but could you imagine yourself being in that victory lane?
No. I think it would just be, I think that would be the ultimate feeling, and for Michael to get to win that twice, I just can't imagine. I joked around because we were supposed to go do a test on Tuesday after the 500, and I told him, I said, don't schedule something for me. I plan on going to New York on
there
Tuesday.
You go. Nice.
So I think you have to have that mindset when you come down here. I think you have to believe that you can win.
I like for him to schedule it so I can screw it all up by winning the race, you know?
Well, catch a special edition of the Speed Report Tuesday night at 8 Eastern. Bob Farsh and Ray Dunlap will recap and discuss all the latest in the world of NASCAR. They'll have A.J. Allmendinger and Johnny Benson. That's Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed. When we return on This Week in NASCAR, is there a technique to bump drafting? We'll ask the panel. Plus, we'll have your emails. Do the drivers use the wall or lines on the track for visual reference? We'll answer those questions and more when we come back. Here's the Hellsburg Diamonds weather report. It was cold when we got down here last week, but look at that. Temperatures topping out at 80. And Michael makes this point, Jamie. Why do they even say a 30% chance of rain?
They really don't have a clue, do they?
They don't have they don't even
No.
have an idea at all. No. Why don't they say there's a 70% chance it's not going to?
I'm not going to get into theories with Michael Waltrip right now.
You know what? He asks questions that he already knows the answer to. That's a little trick.
I can't tell whether he's testing you, though, or he just wants to make conversation. But who knows?
I'm just
Booty,
a friendly sucker.
Booty, I want you to tee up bump drafting, because you said in the commercial you wanted to hear what these guys had to say.
I do want to hear what they have to say, but I don't know if they'll really tell y'all the truth. But I tell Michael, like I said, just go out there and hit them absolutely as hard as you can.
Well, the thing that's interesting, Jamie, to me is you can't see what you're hitting. Like, if you start pounding some guy, you got to figure he's going to be catching the cat in front of him, and at some point you got to let him go, or it's going to be a mess.
Well, bump drafting's a lot of fun when you're the guy that's second in line, and you know if I can get a hold of him, like the 8's got a hold of 20 there, you can push him as long as you want until you get to the entry of the corner. But when there's 2 or 3 cars in front of you, you push and you let off because you don't know
what's up
in
there.
front of them. Yeah, you need your spotter to kind of tell you they're stacked up, 2 or 3 in front.
But is there an etiquette? I remember guys were getting mad saying, you can't bump draft in the corners, but everybody still did it.
Yeah, they still do it. That's what I'm saying. They're going to talk this talk, and they go out there and they're going to pile each other as hard as they can in the corner and cause big wrecks.
Talladega is different than here. You can bump draft in the corner at Talladega.
Cool.
It's got so much grip. It's unbelievable.
All right,
but here,
were we not at Talladega when Carl sent Biffle for the ride in the corner?
Correct. You cannot hit them 40 miles an hour faster than they're going in the
That's
rear.
the point.
Yeah.
They're going to do it anyway, so I told Michael, hit them all as hard as you can, so at least we can get the bumper.
What you have to do is just plan it the best you can, but these new cars help a ton.
Yeah.
We can bump draft a lot better with these than we could those others.
I like what Booty said about a half hour ago. What do y'all expect?
Yeah, what do you expect?
Let's take a look at the last 10 winners of the Daytona 500, and you'll see Mr. Waltrip's name there twice. Jamie, I didn't mean to slight you. You actually won the July race here in 07. I didn't mean to slight you by asking about the 500. You've been to victory lane here.
I have. That was probably one of the coolest nights of my life. I thought Charlotte would be hard to top, but getting to win a restrictor plate race when you don't know you're going to win until the very last second, it's hard to top that.
What was crazy about that, everybody was saying, and Kyle Busch is going to, Jamie McMurray wins. You know, they thought he had the run.
They did, yeah. It took me to like the middle of the backstretch to know if I'd won or not, and I didn't want to get all excited because I thought if I get all fired up and I haven't won, that's going to be like a huge letdown, you know.
Well, coming up after this, the Truck Series. They get ready to beat and bang on the high banks here in Daytona. We'll revisit last year's truck race where the action really heated up. Pun intended. This Week in NASCAR is coming right back. This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, and there's the twin boat on Lake Floyd. And Michael says you can get boat insurance at geico.com. Good point. Quiet here at the racetrack. Richard Petty driving experience. Only race cars on the high banks today. Well, Jamie McMurray said if you think we're crazy, you should watch the trucks. Let's take a look back at Todd Bodine's win 1 year ago.
They're on their feet, getting ready for the start, and the green flag of the 2008 season. We're underway at Daytona. Moving up quickly now. Trouble, contact. No trouble. Close. Just contact. They are moving all over the racetrack.
And that's life at Daytona. You better anticipate it.
There's the problem right there. Kyle Busch, Mike Skinner get into it. The big one happens behind him.
Anybody that's watched it that understands anything about racing can understand that Kyle will just say, I'll race tomorrow. He doesn't care about this. It's his fun time. Kyle had all the outside and just decided to stay right down the center and cut down in front of him. Of course, he's still running, but my Ford's in the pits, so.
Todd Bodine now is able to feel what his truck is doing, and he's starting to think how he's going to go about winning this race.
Here comes Eric Darnell. I didn't think he was going to stay in second long. Darnell on the inside. Todd Bodine moved out.
Oh, what's going on with Darnell?
Problem with Darnell. He slows down, catches the 9 of Justin Martin.
Something was wrong with Eric Darnell. I think he was going to try to make his way to pit road.
I waved him off down the backstretch. I waved him off, pointed him up high in the middle of 3 and 4, and coming off 4, it looked like he just followed me down to the apron and got in the back of me and turned us around. Man, I'm just frustrated, real frustrated right now.
The calm before the storm. Everyone jockeying for positions for the final 3 laps of racing from Daytona.
Are we going to get another 3-wide finish?
Whew. I like the way it's shaping up. The 51 laid back off of him, Phil. Here's the run that he's looking for. Johnny Busch and Vincent's going to push. They're going to be
outside. To the outside goes Kyle Busch, but it's Todd Bodine crossing the start-finish line in front of Kyle Busch and Johnny Vincent.
They are crazy.
I get nervous watching.
Are you doing the truck races this year again for speed?
I am, me and Rick and Phil. So I like that.
I love the truck race. I mean, I sit in my motorhome when I watch that race, and not only does your heart start beating fast, but I start, like, my hands start sweating. You know, it's so exciting to watch the end of those races.
And we have a little bit of intimate knowledge about craziness, and you know what's fixing to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to go nuts.
Yeah.
From a technical standpoint, the reason that truck racing is exciting, they get those big runs, is getting to where we are. They have more power, but they have a lot of drag.
Yeah.
So that's why when they catch a sniff with the hole, they're able to go.
And it looks like the trucks do not drive very good either. I mean, when
like
you
our
watch,
cars.
you're like,
Hey,
man.
it's all coming together.
We like that. Well, tune into the first Camping World Truck Series race on Friday night on the high banks of Daytona. Johnny Benson begins his title defense on a new ride, and the trucks always provide an exciting finish at the World Center of Speed. NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from Daytona Friday, 7:30 Eastern, only on Speed. And it is time now for the return of the Z-Max Fuel for Thought segment. Question number 1, when you're driving inches from the wall on a super speedway like Daytona, are you watching the wall for reference, the grooves on the track, or does a car feel a certain way? And Jamie McMurray will answer that one.
Well, it's oddly enough, when you look at the racetracks and where the guys typically hit the wall, there's always a sponsor painted on the wall at that point, and I use that as my reference point. But when you come to Daytona, you know about 3 or 4 seconds before you hit the wall that you're going to hit, and you can let all the way off the gas and put as much wheel in as you want, and you still can't get stopped. So it's tough when you get here and you get in a big group of cars.
Our next question comes from Bakersfield, California. We've noticed each driver signing in on a clipboard at the NASCAR trailer in the garage. Why does NASCAR require the drivers to sign in, and are you required to be in the garage area by a certain time? And MW is going to take that one.
You sign for insurance purposes. All the crew members and drivers have to sign it's a release saying that if you get hit, you're not going to be mad about it. And as far as a certain time, no, you just have to get there in time to do your job. And you know, when the garage opens at 6 in the morning, Booty's there. And when practice starts at 9 or 10, the drivers need to be there half hour or so prior to that so they can sort of listen to the crew chief and understand what the plan for the session is.
Our next ZMAX question comes from Michelle in Ohio. When a driver is picked for a tire test, does the whole crew go or just the driver, Booty Barker?
Well, what happened? That's why we want to be picked for a tire test so much so. So let's say Goodyear picks Michael for a tire test. What we'll do is we'll bring our entire crew, myself, all the engineers and everything else. And it's such an advantage because you go to this track and you get to run and you get to work out the tire and your setup with that tire. And ideally what we like to do is get a tire that, let's say, Michael would really like and no one else could tolerate. And that's what we tell Goodyear to bring back.
I have a ZMAX Fuel for Thought question, Booty Barker.
Lay it on me.
How does Goodyear pick the drivers? Is it based on their styles? How do they do that?
I think what they typically try to do is they have to get someone that, how can I say this? You have to pick a team and some drivers good enough to where you know you're going to get good feedback. They also, I think, pick teams from each manufacturer to be fair in that way. They also try not to pick teams that, let's say, during the chase to give them an advantage for the championship. And then it's probably some of who you know, but I don't know that.
Oh, controversial. I like that.
The cool thing that we see happening now is NASCAR takes everything into consideration: manufacturer, points position, and they don't want to give anybody an unfair advantage by giving them a tire test.
But it's also hard because when you go, one driver will do compound and one driver will do construction, and then they'll flip-flop and they'll take the information from both. So, like Booty said, you always pick the one that you like the best that works with your setup.
I'm just being honest.
That's not always what they bring back.
Love that. Well, here's a look at all the programming on Speed this week. It's a lot. Tuesday, Speed Report Special Edition at 8. Wednesday, 9 hours of coverage starting at 10. Thursday is NASCAR Race Day Special Edition at 1, then the Gatorade Duels at 2, and all on the air for 10 straight hours. Friday, over 8 hours of programming highlighted by the truck race at 7:30. Saturday, you'll see us for 6 hours, including happy hour starting at 11. Sunday, more of the same. Start your day with NASCAR Race Day at 11 a.m., then tune in for all the review of the Daytona 500 after the race, the Speed Report, NASCAR Victory Lane, and Win Coverage.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Brought to you in part by Verizon Wireless. Call more people, use 0 minutes. Only on America's largest mobile-to-mobile calling family, Verizon Wireless. And by Old Spice Swagger, the scent that makes a difference.
Be sure to catch This Week in NASCAR next Monday following the Great American Race. Michael Waltrip and Greg Biffle join me in the brand new Speed Studios. Recap the Great American Race and preview the race at California, and we'll do so in order. This Week in NASCAR, Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed. Final thoughts for the Daytona 500, Michael.
My thoughts are I won the 150 by making a last lap pass, and they showed me Reckendale Jr. instead, so I'm making a protest.
You're bitter.
Let it go.
Let it go, Michael. Let it go.
Me and Mark.
Just let it go. You and Mark, just let it go.
Final thought for the 500?
Please, sir.
Give Michael what he needs. We make no mistakes. We win the trophy.
And Jamie, that valuable real estate, Victory Lane, how do you get back there for the 500?
I just hope that our Crown Royal Ford Fusion on Sunday drives as good as our car did in the shootout on Saturday night. I think that certainly handling will be the key again.
Did it increase your confidence? Does it help you, or is that a completely different race?
No, I think so. I mean, I think anytime you
run
well.
It has to help.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be in that race, and everybody wanted to be at the front, and Jamie was for a lot of the time, so it's got to be really...
And I think guys will take their setups if they liked them from the shootout, and that's exactly what they're going to start with on Wednesday.
Exactly what we're doing.
He's like right. The man's on.
Like Booty. What do y'all expect?
What do you expect?
What do you expect? They're going to bump draft.
What are we even talking about?
Yeah.
What do you expect?
They're going to bump draft.
Don't believe them. They're going to hit each other.
Just watch the race. You know what's going to happen. Thanks for being with us. For Jamie McMurray, Michael Waltrip, and Booty Barker, I'm Steve Burns. Stay with us all week for Speed Week's coverage.